Hello guys, welcome to the next session of developing a console-based banking application using Java programming language. In the last session, we discussed on how we can implement a login functionality into our application. In this session, we are going to see how we can develop a create customer functionality in this application. So create customer functionality will be available for the admin. So we are going to add this functionality for the admin only, because obviously it is pretty obvious that admin will be able to create the customers, right? So let's see how we can do this. But before that, we have to understand few things from this from the previous session. So in the previous session, we have created this main method, and inside the main method we have added these particular lines where we are taking username and password from the user. And then we have one login method inside our user service, and again inside the user service we are again calling a login method from our user repository. And inside this user repository we have added a logic to logic to check whether our username and password is valid or not. And if it is valid, then we are returning a user as a return type. So we are returning user, and if it is invalid, then we are returning null, right? And over here inside our static block we have created few default users, or maybe few hard-coded users, because obviously we are not going to use any databases and all. So we need some hard-coded users in order to start the application, right? So in this session, similarly we are going to add few more logic in our main method, and then we have to add few logic to create a customer also. So let's see how we can do this quickly. Before developing a customer's creation, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to add a few lines over here. So as you can see, once we logged in successfully, then we are getting a user as a return type or as a returned object. Then we are here over here we are just checking, like, if user is not equals to null, then we are like saying that you are logged in successfully, and if it is null, then the login is failed. But what we want is we want to write a few separate options for an admin and for an normal customers, because obviously we have two different roles and we have uh, different set of functionalities for admin and different set of functionalities for the customers. That is the reason we need to differentiate it. So for this, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to create some methods. So after the main method, let me just add one more method, that is private. And as of now, let me just keep it as a void. And then let me just give one name, that init admin functionality, or init admin, like this. And let me just give this curly bracket, and let me just give one message, like it is just a dummy message. I'm just going to remove it in a moment. So you are an admin. And similarly, let me just add one more method, like private void and init customer. And let me just add one more sysout over here, and let me just say it as you are a customer, something like this. Now what I'm going to do is, if we are logged in as an admin, then I'm just going to call this particular method, and inside this method, like, we will have the different functionalities which are only for admin. And if we are logged in as a customer, then I'm just going to call this particular method, and inside this method we will list out like different functionalities which are available for the customer. So in order to do this, what we have to do is we have to like check one more condition over here. But before that, let me just go to the user repository, and let me just show you, like, inside the user object we have one property that is called as a role, and this role can be a admin or a user. So we have like this particular field to differentiate between the admin and user, so we can use this particular field again. So how we can do this, we can just check if user is not equals to null, and user dot get role dot equals, if user role is admin, then what we are going to do is we are just going to call our init admin method. So we are just going to call our init admin method, but in order to call this init admin method, we have to create object of our main class, because our main method is a static method, so we cannot directly call this init admin method from our main method, because from static we cannot directly call the non-static. That is the reason we have to create an object. So let me just create main is equals to new main, and then let me just make it as a main dot init admin. And similarly, let me just add one more else if condition, else if user not equals to null and user dot get role dot equal user. Then what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to call init customer method, main dot init customer method, something like this. And if user is equals to null, then we are just saying like login is equal to failed. So this is how we are going to add this particular logic. So let me just quickly test this out. Let me just run the application, and let me just try to log in with the, first of all, log in with the admin. So for the admin, we have username as an admin and password as an admin. So we are getting like you are an admin. And again, let me just rerun the application, and let me just try to log in with the normal user 2, and password is equals to user 2, and we are getting the message like you are a customer. Now over here, if you just notice the one thing, what we are currently doing is we are just entering the username, we are entering a password, and we are just getting the message like you are a customer. And then what we are getting is like our project or application is getting terminated automatically. But what I want here is I just want to keep it in a loop, and I just want to repeat this particular process, because unless and until we manually close the application, till that time I just want to run the application automatically. So again, it is pretty simple. In order to do this, what we have to is we have to like just keep one while loop over here. So what I'm going to do is after the object creation, I just want to add one while loop, and over here inside the while loop we just have to keep a boolean value as a true, like this. And then what we have to do is we have to take this code, like from our enter username to the else part, we have to take this code and we have to put it inside the while loop, something like this. And now let me just do one thing. Let me just run the application, and now let me just put it as an admin, something like this. So now we are getting the message you are admin, and again we are getting the message like enter your username. So this time let me just enter user 2 and user 2. So we are getting the message like you are a customer, and again this process is getting repeated. So unless and until we will click on this close button or stop button, till that time we will get it inside a loop only. So this process will be the like continuous process. Now let me just close this terminal and let me just do the further actions. So inside the init admin, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add one new option. So over here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add, first of all I'm just going to add one new option that is called as a exit or logout. So let me just make it as exit or logout. This is the option we require, because obviously if admin is logged in into the system, then we must have to provide an option to log out from the system, right? That is the reason first option that I'm going to add is exit or logout. Then the second option that we are going to add is create a customer and create a customer account, something like this. So create a customer account, something like this. Now let me save these changes. Now once like we show these messages to the admin, then we want one scanner so that we can take input from the admin, like whatever choice user is admin is choosing. Like if admin is choose 1, then we are going to log out to the admin, and if admin chooses 2, then we are going to add some option to create a new customer. So for this we want int selected option is equals to scanner. We have already declared a scanner, so we are just going to use the same scanner over here. So scanner dot next int, because we are going to take integer from the terminal, that is the reason we have to use next int. Then we have to use a switch case over here, so we have to just use switch, and inside this we have to pass our selected option. So if like case is 1, then what we are going to do is we are just going to write some logic for exit. As of now, let me just give some simple sysout, like write some logic for exit, write some logic for exit. In a moment I'll just add some code. After that we have to add a break, then we have to add case 2, and if it is a case 2, then we have to add some logic for adding the new customer. So let me just add new customer, something like this, and again we have to add a break. And then lastly, if selected option is not a 1 or 2, then I'm just going to give the message like wrong choice, something like this. And now let me just save these changes and let me just run these changes. So first of all, the intention is we have to test the basic changes, like we have to just test with these basic system.out.println, and once we are able to print the proper appropriate message, then we will add the actual logic over here. Let me just add username as an admin, password as an admin. Then we are getting the messages like exit or log out. So let me just add it as a exit. So again write some logic for a exit, and it is already logging out. Let me just again put admin, and let me just put the option as a 2, that create a new customer. And if you just see, like it is printing the message like add new customer over here, but again it is giving the message like enter your name. So it is automatically getting locked out. So I just want to do this, like I just don't want to admin to automatically locked out, because we have specific option over here. So for this, what we have to do, we have to again use a while loop over here. So how we can do this, we can just put one boolean value. So let me just declare one boolean value, like first of all, let's suppose flag is equals to true. Let me just keep the default value as a true. Then let me just put the while loop, and let me just put a flag inside this while loop. Now let me just take this entire logic and let me just paste it inside the while loop, something like this. Now what we have to do is, once we select the exit option or logout option, so inside a case 1, what we have to do, we have to just make it as a flag is equals to false, something like this. And now let me just save these changes and let me just start the application again. Now let's see what happens. So let me just put admin, and then let me just use a second option, that is create a new customer. Now if you just see, we are getting the message like add a new customer. So it is like simple sysout message that we have provided over here. And thereafter again we are getting the admin options like exit or log out and create a new customer. So it is kind of repeating the cycle, it is kind of repeating admin options, and that is exactly what we want. And if you just press a 1, then it will like exit from the application. So this is how like we are working over here. One thing that we can just do is we can just put some message like you have successfully locked out, something like this. And now let me just save these changes. Now let's see how we can work on this case 2. So in order to work on this, what we have to do, we have to create one new method like private void. As of now, let me just keep it as a void, and then add new customer. Let me just add one method over here, and this method, let me just call it from here. So how we can call? We have to just call main dot. Okay, now over here we don't have this main method, main object reference. So we have created this main object, we don't have that reference inside this init admin, because obviously there are two different methods and we cannot access this main object outside of this main method. So what we can just do is either we have to make it as an static object. So again, I think we can just make it as a static object, because I just want one copy of this main object. So let me just copy it and let me just paste it over here, something like this, and then let me just make it as a static main, something like this. And now let me just do one thing, let me just make it as a main dot add a new customer, something like this. Now inside the add new customer, what we want to take some parameters as an input. So we want like username and password as an input, and username, password, and then we have, I think we have contact number also, that is also we need to take it as a parameter. So let's see how we can take this. So we have to just put enter username, then we have to just take it as like string username is equals to, and then we have to just take it as scanner dot next, and similarly we have to just take it as a enter password. So this username and password is basically a credentials that we are going to create for a new user. So we have to just make it as a string password is equals to scanner dot next, and we have to take a contact number also. So let me just quickly take the contact number. So we have to just add sysout enter contact number, then we have to just take string contact is equals to scanner dot next, something like this. The next thing that we can just do is we can create one new method inside our user service. So let me just copy this name, and this user service method will take username, password, and contact as an parameter. So let me just add public. As of now, let me just keep it as a void. Add a new customer, then string username, then string password, and then string contact. I'm just going to add the three parameters over here, and then again what we have to do is we have to just go to the user repository, and inside the user repository we have to create a same method. So let me just copy this and let me just go to the user repository, and let me just add the same method over here. And then what we have to just do is we have to just build an object of user, and then we have to put it inside our users set. So how we can do this? We have to just use like user is equals to new user, and then we have to pass username, then password, then contact, and lastly there are two different options, like we have to pass a role, and then we have to pass a account balance. So the default role will be the user, and the default account balance will be, let's suppose 500, like $500, because let's suppose if user wants to open the account, then user have to deposit 500 bucks. So that is the reason, let's put it as a initial account balance as a 500. And once this user is created, what we have to do, we have to just make it as a users dot add, and then we have to just add the user. Now this add method basically returns a boolean value. So you can just hover on this add method and you can just read out the description. But in short, if the object is added inside the collection or inside the set, then it basically returns a true, or else it returns a false. So over here we are expecting some boolean value, that what we can just do, like whatever boolean value it will return, we are just directly returning from our add new customer method. So over here we have to change this void to the boolean like this, and now let me just save these changes. Now our user repository method is done. Let me just go to the user service and let me just call user repository dot add new customer. Then we have to pass username, password and contact like this. And again our user repository add new customer method is going to return us a boolean. So let's return that as it is from our service also. So let me just add return keyword in front of it, and again we cannot give a void, so let me just give it as a boolean, something like this. Now our user service method is also ready. Let's go to the main method, and over here inside our add new customer, what we can just do, we can just use again now we are facing one challenge, like we have to make this user service as a static. Let me just put it as a outside of the main method, and let me just make it as a static, and let me just make user service dot add new customer. Then we have to pass username, password and comma contact number, something like this. Now it is going to return us a boolean value, so let me just store it inside a boolean variable, that is result. And if result is equals to true, if result is equals to true, then you can just say it as credentials are created, or a customer account is created, customer account is created. Else we can just give this out, customer account creation failed, something like this. So let me just add some dots over here, and you can just again simplify the condition. You can just make it as a result only. So again anyhow result is a boolean value, so you can just keep it as it is. Now let me just save these changes and let me just run the application again. Let's see what happens, whether we are able to create a new account or not. So first of all, let me just add some admin credentials, and then let me just choose the second option, that is create new account. And for the username, let me just make it as a maybe, let's suppose user 25. For the password, let me just make it as a user 25. Contact number, let me just put some random contact number, something like this. And again if you just see, like we are getting the message like customer is created. Now our username is user 25, password is user 25. So let me just first of all log out with the admin, and now again we can put our newly created credentials, so user 25 and user 25. And again if you just see, like we are getting the message like you are a customer. So this is how we can log in into a login into the login into the system using the new credentials. One thing that we can just do is, we can just do one thing quickly. Inside the init customer we can add this particular logic. So what we can just do, we can just give some option to the init customer. Like again we can give similar option, exit or log out, which will be the first option for the customer. So we can just keep that. And one more thing that we can just do, we can just use one flag. So let me just make it as a boolean. Flag is equals to, initially that flag will be the true, and again we have to use a while loop and we have to pass our flag there. So let me just pass flag, and let me just pass this option inside my while loop. And then again, as we are going to take input, because over here user have to choose this logout and everything, we have to take input. So what we can just do, we can just use int selected option is equals to scanner dot next int, and again we have to add a switch. So that switch you can just copy and paste. So let me just add this, let me just copy this switch and let me just paste it over here, and let me just remove this second case because as of now we don't have this second case. And now let me just save these changes and let me just quickly test these changes. So again, like as of now, we restarted the application. That means whatever data we have newly created, like we created user 25 in a moment back, that has vanished. We have to create it again. So let me just create a new account like user 25, then user 25, some random contact number, and let me just log out with the admin account. And now let me just put the newly created credentials like user 25, user 25. Now yes, we are getting the option to exit or log out because as of now we are logged in as a customer. So if you just want, we can just log out directly, and we can again, like we are getting again message like you have logged out successfully, and we can again log in with the different credentials like admin credentials or maybe any different user credential. So this is how we can add a logic to keep all these options in a loop and to create a new customer in our application. So I hope you got the idea. In the next session we will see some of the next part, but I hope you got the idea like how we can create a customer inside our banking application. If you still have any questions, let me know into a comment section and I will try my best to help out in that case. So I hope you enjoyed this session. I'll see you in the next session.